All right, hello everyone. Welcome to session 5. Let me share my screen and let's start. So last time we covered um, the strategy pattern, right? So we created this search strategy and then we implemented search by title implementation for that and search by author name. And then in our actual client class, we instead of directly calling search functions, we were setting the strategy and then calling search function on top of that. Um, Today we are going to do implement the decorator pattern. So this is the requirement. So first of all, what's a decorator pattern, right? So think of it like this: that instead of making changes to your main class, um, we can add behavior to an object at runtime, right? So we can override some behavior of object, or we can enhance the behavior of an object at runtime. We are not making any change to the class from which that object is created. So for example, we have the books, right? We have printed books, we have ebooks, and people can borrow those books. Now let's say we have a requirement that we want to restrict borrowing on some of the books. There are two ways we can implement it, right? One way is we can actually go into those concrete classes for ebook and printed book, and can have some conditionals based on which the object created is either borrowable or not. Second is we use decorator pattern and we add this behavior on top of those objects, which is obviously more robust. It's more expandable. We can add different kind of behaviors without changing or adding that complexity in the classes. So yeah, that's decorator pattern. Let's see the requirements. Create an abstract decorator class, library item decorator that wraps a library item and delegates all method to it. Okay. And then implement concrete decorator called reference only decorator. Reference only essentially is like you can access it but you can't borrow it. Wraps a library item. All right, so it essentially blocks the borrow item and return item methods on top of it. So, no one can borrow those items. So yeah, let's start. First, we will do this. We will create this abstract decorator class, and it wraps a library item. Cool. So here I'm gonna create a new class. We're gonna call it library item decorator. All right. Then library item decorator, it's an abstract class, right? Because we want to do the actual implementation of it. I mean, there can be multiple implementation. One being the non-borrowable. There can be other implementations also for decorator. So this is it, and it extends library item. Um, so since it's extends library item, we will have to call create the library item or called super of that library item, right? So what does library item expects? It expects title, author, and ISBN. Let me go back. Um, let's create the constructor for it. So we have public uh, library item decorator, and it's gonna take the library item, the item that we want to decorate, right? So library item base object, let's call it that. And first we'll have to call super, right? So super, and we need those three variables which we'll get from the base object. Base object dot get title. What else is there in library item? So title, author, and ISBN. So base object dot get author and base object dot get ISBN, right? So by doing this, we create a proper class, I mean an object of library item decorator, which is created from library item. And since it's extending library item, which means that all the functions and I mean the methods and the data that's in the library item is available to library item decorator. So if someone calls library item dot print details, I mean library item decorator dot print details, at the end it will actually call the base object print details. Okay. So this is fine. This is the abstract class. Now we will create a concrete decorator called reference only decorator. Okay, so let's create one more reference only decorator, and this extends our base decorator, which is library item decorator, right? So it's gonna get the library item again. It's gonna call library item decorator with the item, which is fine. Now on top of it, we want to add the behaviors. So what all behaviors do we need? Since it's a concrete class, right? It needs to implement the all the methods of the abstract class. So if we go back to library item decorator, this is abstract class. It extends library items. So library items is again an abstract class, right? And it needs to implement get category, um, and also whatever is in the borrowable. So if you go to borrowable, these all also it needs to implement. So we can go back, which means library item decorator has to implement it, but it's an abstract class, so we can skip that. But any class that's an actual implementation of this abstract class, in our case reference only decorator, then we'll have to implement all those methods. So if I hover over it, must be declared abstract or implement abstract method get category, right? So it needs to implement it. um, I'll just click on this, and it needs to implement all of these, right? As I was talking about. So get category is borrowed, borrow item, return item. So ID makes it easier. I moved from cursor to IntelliJ, right? So get category, we can leave it as it is. Um, but then yeah, again, so when we have when we want the category of it, right? We'll come to this. So is borrowed, it can return false. Now borrow item should throw an exception because we don't, the whole idea of having this is we don't want it to borrow anything. We don't want that the borrow item function should actually borrow the item. So if I go back, borrow item method, so throw or print an error wherever borrowing is attempted, right? Override the method to behave normally, delegate to wrapper item. Okay. So you can return an item if it's borrowed, obviously, but you can't borrow it, which makes sense. So we will just call super dot um, return item, but then cannot be accessed directly. Yeah, because it's an abstract method. So instead of overriding it here, what we can do is in the library item decorator itself, we can have that override. So this is the override. A strict method return item cannot be accessed directly. Yeah. So what we will do, we'll call the base object dot return item instead, which makes sense, right? But base object is not there. Let's set it. So this is the library item base object, and when we instantiate the decorator, we are calling this, and we are also calling this dot base object base object. Now return item can return that thing. Same for uh, is borrowed, or we can keep it here because I mean it's It's gonna be false. But yeah, you don't know because let's say someone creates the library item, borrow it first, and then we make that non-borrowable. Then in that case, they can return it, right? But to return, the actual return implementation will check if it's borrowed or not. So, which means we will have to keep is borrowed also in the library item decorator, and it's gonna give the actual value. So base object dot is borrowed. All right, this makes sense. Now, get category also. I mean, obviously we don't need to implement it again. Whatever is the actual category, we can get it from the base object. All right. Now, what's left? Borrow item. So here we want to throw the exception. So we can just say throw new borrow exception, and the message is gonna be item can't be borrowed, something like that. We'll see from there. Um, so reference only item can. This is the message that we need to add. All right, that's good. Create normal borrowable. I mean, this is fine. This is just the test code. We'll ask it to give the test code. Ensure the original library item class remains unchanged. We didn't touch it. The reference only can be composed with other decorators if desired. Not sure if that can be done in our current implementation, but we will see. The borrowing restriction is enforced at runtime and does not rely on static annotation or compile time check. Okay. All right. Give me the test code. All right. Let's copy it. Go back to our main class. I'll remove the main class, put this new one. All right, let's run it. Okay. Yeah, let's fix this problem. Search strategy, search by title. What's the issue here? Class or interface expected? We have the interface, right? Mm, packet statement. It's there. Okay, let's put it down. Does it make any difference now? Let's say if we have a quick fix here. I mean, it was same, right? Let me know in comments if you know why this thing is there. Now it works. Anyways, so all good. Everything is green now, and I'll run the main class again. Hmm. So this is the output. We'll do the dry run, but let's first pass it and see if it's right. Yeah. Cool. Wow. Okay. So seems like it's right. Let's see what's happening here. We created an author. We created an ebook by using the factory pattern which we created earlier. Then we call borrow item on the ebook and we return back the ebook, right? So this is all good. Then we wrap this ebook and make it reference only, right? We don't allow it to be borrowed. And then we call borrow item. This should throw exception, and we are catching this and logging it. Yeah, makes sense. So yeah, to sum it up, this makes sense, right? You can add behavior to the object at runtime, at the use time. Yeah, that's about it. Let me see. Okay. We can end it here. It's already 15 minutes. I want to keep these sessions shorter now so that it's easy to um, get feedback on it. And see you in the next one. We'll cover the next pattern. Yeah. Thank you. Oh, there's a question. Which keyboard you use? It's a pretty old TVS mechanical keyboard. Let me give you the link. Yeah, you can search with this one. It works great. Never had any issue with the keyboard, and it's very tactical. I mean, there are better options, but I like this one. So yeah, thanks for joining, Manish. See you in the next one.